It's been some time ago that I read In the Isles, which was in a collection of short stories. Honestly, it's just a 25-page story, but it mesmerized me instantly, the depth, the atmosphere of it. And I hope we were able to carry some of that over into this film. But like all of Clemens's stories, this sort of telling a whole story in very little space and leaving so much out, giving room for the reader to think up the void. That was the idea that we wanted to turn that into film. What I can say is that there is very little that helps you in acting the way a forklift does, because if you've got a whole ton of beer above your head, then suddenly things get rather concrete, because if that thing tumbles down, then forget about shooting a film, forget about acting. And as an actor, you can sort of despair when it comes to things that are realistic, and a ton of beer is pretty realistic. It's actually the only film that I used humor. Before that, I wasn't really into that. I mean, this time I dared do it. And I think for In the Isles, it's almost impossible to do it without. It helps you get more lightheartedly into the meaning of the film. If you imagine this film without humor, then I think we talk about how difficult it is to bear watching the film. I think humor helps it. I mean, it's a bit like very much a stage setting. I mean, we sort of came in and out. We came, the real employees, after their daytime work left, and then the night shift came, and then we were in between. I had this feeling that we lived in a sort of parallel world. We immersed ourselves in a parallel universe for that time, which actually fits the story quite well, because we play with the genres too. But one of the genres that I think we can see is the fairy tale. Fairy tale and a world which exists for itself and on itself, which doesn't need a reference. The energy that Marion has, that was quite seductive to me as well, because it's this a woman flitting about, but actually always searching this apparent freedom she has, where she seems to reach out for everything she wants. But it was fun doing it. The rehearsals we had before we actually started shooting, I sometimes had the feeling that we developed little choreographies almost. It's also a question, do we talk and look at each other, or do we look at various palettes of goods? Where is the focus? Where and how do we stand? Where and how do we turn? That was a sort of choreography of movement, and that was pretty accurately crafted. And we had a lot of preparation, and we knew from Thomas what he wanted to tell us, and then we had the combination of some freedom, which you always have when you're shooting. And I could look at the monitor or something else, which is normally quite dangerous. If you let the actor look at the monitor, it could be a disaster, but before Thomas had a clear idea of how I would act. He still allowed me to do that, and that was fantastic. And this combination was good, that we knew exactly where to go to the meter, but we still created enough space for an actor to do the little things that were necessary to make it come alive. I think on the one hand, the film we've done isn't a political film, but I also believe in the sentence that art is always political. There is no way it cannot be political. I don't want to send out a message or write a commentary. All that I care about as a filmmaker is the film, from beginning to end. And in this sense, obviously, that which you talk about is our subject. Clemens Meyer and I, what we are doing is not to treat that issue as a story, but it's the backdrop. It has an influence on the people, what they say, what they do. But by doing that, I don't know whether it's a contribution to the debate, but we use the language of film to comment on it. It's about people who feel left out, behind. People who say, what about me? There is this very cold world outside. And yes, I can imagine that 3 and 5 people would put their cross on the wrong part of the voting ballot, but I still like the people, and that's what I'm talking about. And as a filmmaker, I have the freedom to do that. I wanted to do a film which shows empathy with all these characters. And I think maybe there was a gap in the narrative about all this, which I could fill with this film. book. I knew the short story beforehand anyway, because Clemens is somebody who I really like, because the way he writes means he's never the observer who looks from above. He always is somebody who comes from the bottom, tries to open up the world to us from right below. And that's something which, for me as an actor, is just an approach that's very close to me. And all his stories, you can read them and think, you can make all of this come to life. You can immerse yourself in this. And the character Bruno was imbued with so much from the original writing. So I thought, well, let's start working and searching. And what I portrayed is what I found. Obviously, I come from former East Germany. I was born there. I was 32 years old when the political change happened, the wall came down. I had to reorient myself. So the pain of this man, even though I hadn't gone through that myself, but I could understand it, let's put it this way, to sort of sympathize in the sense that I could understand the feeling.